So out of 10, we're gonna both say our scores of Bazooka in three, two, one, 6 out of 10.
Oh,
Or four, yeah. So yours is lower than mine. Was this film? Did you not really like? What made you give it that score, basically?
I feel like they took a lot of time to get to the point, and it wasn't needed at all. Like I I usually like slow movies when movies take their own time to establish the character, establish the world around the character. I like that. However, in this movie, I'm like, what are you trying to show? There's a gamer. I mean, and we can get to spoilers, but it took an hour and a half to get to the point, and I'm like, okay, now I know what's going to happen at the end. But even though the plot twist was good, in my opinion, but I don't think that was enough. I don't want to spend 2 hours, getting dragged through and just to enjoy 10 minutes at the very end. But yeah, for me, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, like just my quick like summary or take on it is you are
Yeah,
right about the ending. Like, even though for me the ending was good, but
yeah,
I think for me it was just too late for it to be good. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it was a bit boring, but
yes.
yeah, it was just a bit late.
Yeah,
I
I
found
think,
it.
yeah, I usually, especially Mammootty at his this stage of his career, he has been like trying a lot of different types of roles. So I had like high expectation for the story, even though in my opinion, like the story is very good, but the execution though, I feel like I feel like they could just chop 1 hour of the movie and it would be great.
Hmm.
But 2.5 hours, I can't, man. It's too much.
Yeah. So we're going to quickly talk about like the story of the film first. So at the beginning, we're introduced to Officer Benjamin, right, who's played by Gautham Vasudev Menon,
Yeah.
and he has a team of three others with him. And from the beginning, right, so this is going to be no spoilers for whoever's watching this. We see this painting basically get taken by him, right? And I think at first, was it just me, or like do you think we were trying to make like why was this happening? I mean, we only find out the importance of it right at the end, right? Do you think
Right,
it was
right, right.
a bit like
It's more like a thing happened at the very beginning, and we just forgot. They're not gonna talk about why it happened or like what is it all about. Just give us some sort of hint here or there, just so that we can recall it at the very end. It was more like, especially, I don't know what they were trying to do, whether they were trying to show us that it's not an actual nun. It's sketchy stuff going on at the very beginning. I don't know what that's what they were trying to do, but it was a bit forceful though. Like it was dramatic, like for no reason. He's just staring at the camera, and the customs officers are like, "Oh, something happened suspicious," and I'm like, "What?
yeah.
Nothing happened suspicious. You just looked at the camera."
And then as well as that, we're introduced to John Caesar, who's basically meant to be Mammootty's character, and we see him get on a bus. And then the way they tie in with the police, basically, the there is a series of robberies that take place, and Benjamin basically, is in need of help, and that's where Mammootty, John Caesar, comes in, and then we kind of see how the rest of it unfolds, and that's what I'm gonna say on the story now. But overall, what did you think of the story?
I think the story is pretty good in my opinion because it was a fresh take. It's not that usual crime thriller or usual just story narrate, just a crime thriller where the police is just going after just random dudes or whatever. The story is there, especially the fact that everything revolves around the gaming and environment. So that take, I liked it, but at the same time, I feel like it could have been a lot better. And the police characters, I swear to God, man, like they showcase them as like, oh, these are like high ranking officers. They are well respected in the area. Now they're one of the best in India, and I'm like, really? I don't see it.
Yeah, because I mean, they were like fooled a couple of times during the robberies and stuff. I mean, I guess yeah, the story was a decent story. Like
Yeah.
yeah, that's all I can say until it all kind of kicks off at the end. Yeah. But was there anything that you liked about this film?
Yes, I feel like the camera work was very good in my opinion, especially the temple run sequence that they shot. There was nice slow motions, nice macro shots. Those were very good in my opinion. And and obviously the performance of Mammootty at the end was good. Obviously, I like the plot twist at the end. Um, music, I just yeah, I felt like there was nothing in there. I felt like it was me doing some random music online. It was just random beats. I didn't like the vibe. However, the camera works, I liked it. The slow motions were good. However, at one point it became unnecessary slow motion for no reason. That's a different point. But it was good. Like those aspects, I liked it. I do understand what the director was aiming for. However, I don't think he hit the I don't think he hit the bullseye.
Yeah, I think
How
my
about you?
take. So with the music, mine's a bit different because I think for me, some of the music I thought was good, but I think it was only the parts where Mammootty would kind of have his entrance or have his walk.
Yeah,
So when
that's
Mammootty was
true.
on screen, that's when the music was like, okay, it was good, and that's what I.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. Yeah,
Yeah. And also, I think what I liked was, just before the intermission, when
mhm.
he sits in that chair and there's that middle finger thing. I thought that was cool as well.
That
That
was cool.
intermission
That was
kind of
cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just out of nowhere, he turns up with the gun and stuff. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like, that was cool. And yeah, again, the
There are a
ending,
lot of moments. Yeah, there are like little
yeah,
moments here and there. So it was good. Like I mean, if I watch it on TV on OTT platform, I might enjoy it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But yeah, because you're on the big screen, you're seeing everything. On a big canvas. So you had like certain expectations. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and like I said, the ending was good, and I think Mammootty did add to the film. I think without him in the film, I think I would be
I would have
here
just walked off.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his presence just added to it. Like the music boosted, and
Yep.
just all of it.
Yep.
It just added that big value to it, basically.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That's true. That's
Uh,
definitely true.
yeah, and now let's talk about like what didn't work for us in the film. So what did you not like about this? Here we go.
It is unnecessary. Okay. Number one, these are not spoilers. So, number one, I just don't understand why they need to build up the police officers so much. They're like, oh, these are like spectacular team. They're like one of the best in the country. Blah blah blah. But when they're building it up, all of these scenes and all of these shots and all of these stuffs, I'm not able to connect to it. You know what I mean? There are like certain, for example, if you look at KGF, right? In KGF, you have, I'm not trying to go on a tangent. Like in KGF, if you watch just the first half, you're like, this is a typical South Indian movie, over the top action, but it pays off in the second half. Because you need that first half to understand who Rocky is. But in this one, I don't feel anything for Gautham Vasudev Menon. I'm like, what are you trying to do? They're like, oh, these are the big guys. They are the big police officers. And they're like, they look at the camera and they're like, that's our guy. Let's go. And they do nothing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the major, I feel like, I would say it's a weak writing. Like the characters didn't, I couldn't feel sympathy or empathy or I couldn't connect it to at all. However, from a movie standpoint, I do say though, if they actually trim the movie like an hour or like a 45 minutes, I think it would be like a better movie because I feel like
Yeah.
there's no reason for them to show lots of slow motion, lots of Gautham Vasudev Menon's sequence, family sequence. They're trying to show a lot of things which is not required, in my opinion. Because when you sit in the theater for 2.5 hours, at one point, if it's not on, if the storyline is not on par, you're gonna get bored.
Yeah.
I think they got that totally wrong. How about you? Do
Yeah.
you? I'm pretty sure you'll have, but at least more than two opinion on how bad the movie is.
So I think it was a bit boring. So
Yeah.
I think you are right in the sense that okay, if they cut some of it out, then maybe it would have not been as boring. And
Right.
also, I don't know if it was just me, but they tried to incorporate this whole horror music, horror element. When that Halloween party and like the London Bridge is falling down,
Yeah.
like they were trying to add that horror element. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that didn't work. I don't think that worked for me, the horror kind of element they tried to
Yeah.
weave in. Like it was just maybe it was just a bit unnecessary in that sense.
Yeah. I think they were trying to, like I said, I think they were trying to show how scary these guys are, these unknown gamers are. But like you said, like I couldn't feel anything. Like they're like, oh, the Halloween sequence or like London Bridge is falling down. I'm like, okay, man, get to the point. Like I couldn't wait because first of all, we don't know who the villain is. So I guess it's a good way not to know the villain. It kind of gets you excited to know who that person is. However, um, I couldn't feel bad or anything about the Gautham Vasudev Menon guy. The problem is they didn't. The heist is happening. Not they're not stealing anything valuable. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting concept. They're just stealing random things like trophy or whatever. However, when that's happening, at least the audience should feel like, oh, this is quite interesting. Let's focus on that. Instead, it's just Gautam Menon talking about a bunch of stuff. And they're like, oh, it's in the games, da 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 da. Then out of nowhere, there's no callback on the pictures, the painting, and there's no callback on how the movie began with that nun. I feel like there are a lot of elements in there where they could just call it back every now and then. Nothing happened. So it just in my head, I'm like, okay, so what's the point? I have like 200 dots now. I don't know how to connect. And nothing gets connected at the end. It's just one person connecting the 200 dots.
Yeah. Okay, so now we will go into spoilers and whatever. I know you said about the painting. I mean, yeah, you are. They do touch on it at the end, but you're right. It's one person that connects the whole thing, but if not, connects the whole film together. Also, I think I noticed something. So the spelling of Temple Run was different. Now I don't know if that's because maybe copyright issues, so they couldn't spell it like that. I don't know if that was a spelling error. Maybe that's just my eyes. I was just looking. I thought they spelled it wrong, but maybe that's a different thing. I think, as we mentioned, the horror elements as well. So also, the way that they tried to tangle that whole video game element, I think that was kind of cool in that sense. But now, I mean, let's talk about the big topic of this film, right? So, during this film, we see Mammootty, we see Gautham working together to try and all of them working together to figure out what the next robbery is going to be and stuff. Because you're right, you said it's not about the big money items and stuff. There was something that he did mention why they are doing it. They are doing the robberies. It's not. I don't know if it was about power, but I think it was about something else they did mention in the film.
Yeah, I think
So
I think I said something like they wanted to showcase a point that they're not interested in valuable things and they will leave the most valuable thing in the area open so that people will know that's not what they're looking for. So it's a good touch, but it didn't hit.
yeah, and then we do see them obviously try and find out where the next robbery is going to be, and then it turns out it was going to be the painting right from the start, right?
Yeah.
And they asked Mammootty to basically design this interactive safe to basically keep it closed. And we haven't mentioned this, but there was a big character in this film, which was the guy that sat next to him right at the beginning, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, his character was a big part because there was that chemistry between him and Mammootty's character in the sense that he was a
Yep.
gamer, he was sitting next to Mammootty, and then there was that challenge, right? Oh, can
Yep.
I bet you I'll be able to crack the code, which he
Yep.
does,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know? And then
Yep.
what could possibly happen? The picture actually goes missing.
Right.
What did you think of that? Do you think it was quite clever in terms of
I
how it
I
all
think
turned
yeah,
out?
I think it is quite clever because the only narration that's going, I mean, to me personally, like the entire movie was between those two guys because they are doing the narration, right? So there are two perspectives. One is Mammootty explaining the story to that guy, and the other perspective is him trying to figure out who Mammootty is. So there is two engaging characters, in my opinion. But instead of building up those two characters, I felt like the director was focusing more on the cops and how they felt it. I felt like the gamer guy, I forgot his name, the guy who was sitting next to Mammootty, his thoughts were quite, I think it was quite clever because I think the director used him as an audience perspective because he's trying to think like, who are you? He's like going through the laptop. He's like trying to ask or say the right things. And when Mammootty is doing some unnecessary fights on the streets, he's like looking at it like, so who are you? And he's changing his glass from sunglass to his reading glass. So those are like nice touch. But at one point though, I mean it was a good distraction. I thought Mammootty is trying to catch this guy and his name is Mario. And that's what I thought, which is not the case. So that was a nice distraction. But I feel like they could have elaborated those interactions more, unlike spending too much time on other stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, and how you said about the two characters and how you said about that guy being our audience perspective. Like, you could be right in that sense because maybe with this film, they were trying to fool us as well. Like, they were trying to make
Right.
us a part of the game, right? Until
Yeah.
it's all revealed at the end. And
Yeah.
they fooled the guy that he was sitting next, and they fooled us. So maybe it was that exact representation
Yeah.
because now we'll get to the big reveal because after the whole film, the big reveal is that Mammootty was behind all of this, basically, right? He calls himself Bazooka,
Yeah.
and basically said that he was this gamer, and the way he planned it, just because that painting got stolen, he decided, to use a girl to get close to that guy who basically helped them steal the picture back, right?
Right.
And also, they also show the real John Caesar towards the end, right? So Mammootty is not actually John Caesar, who we thought he was at the beginning. He's actually
Right.
someone completely else, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where the film did work for me. Like, the ending was good. I think it was clever. And I don't think I expected it. Did you expect it to be him all
No.
along?
No, 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 I did not. I thought they were going for. I thought there would be some sort of because obviously bazooka. And the whole time I was thinking there might be some gun blazing at the very end, and I thought the last 20 minutes might be like all out action or whatever. So from that perspective, yes, the movie did work for me. I like the plot twist and I didn't think Mammootty would be Mario. And I didn't think for a second the Julius Caesar guy is like a completely different person. So those two plot twists, I did enjoy it. I didn't see that coming. And can we talk about the outfit Mammootty wear at the end?
Yeah.
Oh my god! I was like, wait, is it actually him? It was crazy though. So that whole scene and narration at the last 15 to 20 minutes, that did work for me. But I think that's not enough though. Like
Mm.
that's just not enough. It's just I felt like they used Gautham Menon throughout this movie, and the movie goes through him. However, I felt like instead of that, maybe do something with Mammootty because I mean, at the end of the day, you have Mammootty sitting in the bus. His entire job is to narrate the story. Come on, man, do something with it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where the movie completely fell apart because everything goes through Gautham Menon, and we don't get to see. I mean, I still don't get why they had to show it like, oh, it's a team of 4 police officers, and they are the one who's trying to do all of this, and they make it seem like it's like an Interpol job, and it's they're always in like a small room. They have projector. I mean, you're not trying to do anything, and there's no clues you're getting. Like you get like text message or like emails or whatever. But there is nothing in the movie where we were like, oh, that's interesting, other than the fact that these guys only steal the most random things.
Mm.
But yeah, I think the police officer scene kind of ruined the whole movie. I still don't get why.
It was the Mammootty show, right?
But when is
Basically.
when was the Mammootty show? That's the
Yeah.
problem for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was only glimpses of the Mammootty show basically just before the intermission when he
yeah,
turns up in that car with the black
yeah,
suit, which I thought was
yeah,
kind of cool.
yeah. That was
And
pretty funny.
at the end when, talking about what he was wearing those like little glasses, the little
Yeah,
like I don't know if they were like flared pants, the sandals. It was literally someone else basically we
yeah.
saw.
Yeah. That transformation was pretty cool.
Mm.
Little things like those, like you said, like the funky glasses he was wearing, his outfit compared to his outfit in the bus. So that whole arc was very good in my opinion. But however, like I wanted more from an actor like Mammootty. For I mean, to be fair to him, there were no space for him to showcase. You know what I mean? Like he got like last 10 minutes, and it was spectacular. But this whole
Mm.
bus journey, I mean, I think anybody could do story narration. Just sit in there and just talk about it. And they tried to. And one thing I will say though, the movie was very stylistic, like that, especially the temple sequence. I loved it, like the slow motion, the macro shots were
And the mask.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mask, it
Mask.
was so cool. The colors, the red colors, it
Mm.
was nice. London Bridge scene, that was nice. And that scene though, like when the whole police officers were waiting to catch the guy in front of the bank, and then they realize it's the London Bridge, that was pretty nice. And I was like, okay,
Mm.
maybe this is where the movie might take off. Still nothing. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that other than that, also with the music aspect of this film, there was not, I would say, really one song. It was like lots of background music with lyrics to it, and
Right.
there was some like hip hop grime type lyrics. Like they tried to make
Yeah.
it kind of that like
Yeah. Yeah.
commercialized thing, right?
Exactly. Exactly. They had like fresh ideas. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I feel like every movie will have like that music that's like a recall value. Like if you think about KGF, the first music, you know what music comes to your head. Om Shanti Om. All of these movies have like just one background music or one song that gives you that recall value. But in this movie, there is nothing. I can't even hear that music again. I don't even remember how the music was in the movie. Unlike like Lucifer or like other Mammootty film, there's like always like one music that gives you, oh yeah, this music, this is from Leo. Oh yeah, I know this song. But in Bazooka, like you said, they tried different things. Music wise, there were like nice elements to it. There are more commercialized songs compared to the contemporary one. However, it didn't. All of this nice touch didn't blend together. It was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, as well as the music being commercialized, maybe the film was slightly commercialized. They didn't stick to that like Indian template. Basically, they kind of did go for something different. So at least
True.
they tried something. But I would say
True.
maybe with the whole narration thing, if they didn't give us that bus journey, I mean, it does make sense to the story, but I think if they found a way to kind of sort that out and made it a bit better,
Yeah.
maybe it would have.
Yeah. Yeah. And they did. Yeah, I think maybe to play devil's advocate though, maybe the bus journey is necessary to
Yeah.
reach the plot twist. So I will give him though. But and there were a bunch of characters in the bus, and I thought like they might contribute something, except that one guy who was sitting right behind him and gets dragged off during the intermission scene. But other than that, like they were known. I mean, the whole thing can be somewhere else. Like it doesn't have to be a bus journey. It can be some other area, and that's where it's frustrating for me. Like it doesn't serve any sort of purpose. It's just that it's almost as if they need a spot for Mammootty to narrate the story, and
Mm.
it didn't quite stick with me. Like they were saying and showing all of these things. I couldn't like emotionally connect to it. And talking about hating the movie, there is one scene I wanted to punch myself. Out of
Really?
nowhere, out of nowhere, there was a romantic monologue. Not monologue. There was a montage in the second half.
Like the song, there was that song with that girl on her own in the. Is that
Yeah,
what you were
I'm
talking?
like,
Yeah, that was
I'm like,
random.
yeah, I'm like, what are you doing? What's the point of this?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, was
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, they probably could have like cut that out. But then, see, the thing is, at the end, we see them all getting on the plane, right? We see
Yeah,
the computer genius guy, the gamer, and we see
yeah,
also Gautham getting on the plane. But I
yeah.
don't think they're gonna do anything with that, are they? I mean, are they gonna make a sequel? Probably not.
I mean, first of all, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Second of all, if they do decide to do it, though, I think they should actually like critically think whether it's necessary. Like I said, especially coming from I don't know whether these kind of stories already made in Bollywood or other industry. From Malayalam industry standpoint, this is a very fresh idea, like bringing the gamers and how you explore, because they did quite well at the beginning explaining how the gaming industry works. There's that trophy, and he has been losing the trophy, so they did set up a nice environment for like somebody who's not aware of gaming industry works. So they did set up all of these things. However, if you don't establish or if you don't build upon that point, it's there's no reason for you to spend that much time. So if they do make a second part, I think they need to build upon the mistakes they have done in Bazooka and take it from there. Then I think it would work. But from yeah, I don't think it would do. I don't think people will be excited. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because at the end they just like Mammootty's gonna go to Dubai, and then that was how it basically ended. Because I mean, I guess you could say he got away with it. Like this was one film where you could say the villain won, right? Like
Yeah,
you don't really get that in Indian
yeah.
films. It's quite rare
Yeah,
now, don't you
negative
think?
shade. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that is true. That is true. I think I was watching one of your other podcast where you talk about how the villains are portrayed in the movie, and it is true because at the end of the day, I mean, I guess it's the whole Indian industry how we portray villains as the bad guy. Villain has to do the most unrealistic thing, like he's the serial killer for some reason. So I feel like from that perspective, like yes, in this case, villain, quote unquote villain, did win. However, there were movies in the past, like Dawn is a classic example. It's a negative shade character, even though at the end of the day he is villain from a story's perspective. But I don't think you would make a movie out of a negative shade unless it's a character like Joker. You know what I mean? Like where you can be like, oh, I like this eccentric character. I would like to see this maniac going complete crazy throughout the movie. But even if the director go for Bazooka too, like I don't know what they're gonna do. Like at the end of the day, they had like five trophies, like 5 rounds of game, 5 levels,
Yeah.
and he did all of those levels, and he got all the trophies, and he got the painting he wanted. So from that environment, I don't think there is any need to go for level 6. Here we go, like there's no need.
No, you're right. But also, I think with this film, I don't know, did you find it was not promoted as a lot compared to like other films?
Yeah, yeah. I think. Yeah, I will say though, like most of these movies, especially Malayalam. I don't know how familiar you are with Malayalam industry in general. Like promotions are not that big of a thing compared to other industries. Nowadays, it is big. However, compared to other industries, even like Tamil or Kannada film industries, it's very small. The promotions are very small. However, it's always about, especially nowadays, post COVID, due to OTT platforms, there are good promotions, but especially for Bazooka, you are right. Like, promotions have been very poor, and especially when you compare with Empuran that came a couple of weeks back, it's like night and day. It's promotion of Empuran was through the roof.
Mm.
From the small industry perspective, it was through the roof. Empuran, but for Bazooka, I don't think the budget itself is that big for them to push for promotion. And to be very honest with you, I don't think the producer believed the output either. I feel like maybe when they saw the movie and they might have thought, let's not spend too much money for promotions.
Yeah, that could be one thing as well. I mean, yeah, you're right because it could have probably been made on a smaller budget, but then also there was another Malayalam film that kind of clashed with it, so I
Yeah.
don't know that will probably play into some kind of
Yeah.
when they take money at the
Yeah.
box office or not, because
No,
it
that
is
is,
an
yeah,
all
that is.
yeah. Go on,
No,
sorry.
go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, because it is an all right film. I mean, it probably will do better on OTT. Maybe I think you mentioned that before,
Yeah.
because it's probably one of those films you could watch at home. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think it requires a theater experience. I don't think it's a theater experience. But I did, like I said, I did like the temple run sequence. I don't know, for some reason the colors, like when the scene took off and when the slow motion start to hit, and I'm like, oh, this is beautiful, and I hope it they build upon it, but nothing happened there. But I do think it will do better on OTT. They should have just released on OTT. To be
Mm.
fair, that would have made more money. They can just use Mammootty's name, and they could have gotten more money compared to, because now I don't think anybody would. I think the box office will hit a major turmoil because it's always the first reviews, right? First show, if people say it's all right, then it's gone. It's
Yeah.
completely out. Yeah,
Because, yeah, I guess if people said it was a great film and definitely worth watching, then of course everyone's gonna
right.
go and watch it because you
Yeah,
also has you because like how I said about the Clash, because you also had Alapura Gymkhana, which like but the thing is they're both completely different films. Like this was more of
right.
a spy thriller, right? Kind of, well,
Right.
thriller,
Thriller.
and then
Yeah.
the other one was like just a sports comedy. So I think Malayalam cinema are trying to go the different route.
Yeah. They always had they always Malayalam industry in general always had like fresh ideas. And I always tell my friends, coming from, because I was born and raised in Kerala, so like I have watched these movies. So for me, like when I watch these films, I feel like, oh, I know this person. Like I could connect to it. I'm like, oh yeah, this character, yeah, it's my uncle. I can relate to it. But when I watch certain movies and I'm like, I don't know, like I'm not able to relate to certain things. So I feel like, especially like Alapura Gymkhana or like Bazooka, I feel like people would relate to more Alapura Gymkhana because of how the characters are portrayed. I didn't watch the movie, but when I saw the trailer, I could feel like, oh, this is somebody that I could relate to. Your failure, or you want to learn something, sports or whatever. So I feel like especially in Malayalam industry, they always went for relatability rather than like larger than life. And to be very frank, some of these movies they make in Malayalam, most of the time when they go for larger than life, they either fail technically or like emotional standpoint, or they just fail story wise, because people will be like, is it good? Yes. Will I watch it again? No, never, because they couldn't relate to it. So I think it got a lot to do with the industry in general. But like people tend to go and watch Tamil movies for larger than life. That's why like Vijay, Rajnikant, Kamal Hassan, all of these people have like a crazy fan following in Kerala. But if Mammootty do the same film as Vijay did, they'll be like, it's not for you, buddy. We don't want you to do this. We want you to stick with your craft. But I think that also plays a part, because promotions, at the end of the day, certain promotion will work outside of Kerala. Like some movies, I don't think for Empuran they did any sort of promotions in Kerala because it's not required. Because people know that it's a big film. There's no need. So they were pretty smart about it. They went to North Belt. They did crazy promotions there, and it worked for them.
Yeah, and going back to that, because like Emperor was that big budget film, but then I think from what most people thought, I think like I thought there was a story, but I think other people thought there wasn't a story. So I know how you're saying, like with the big budget films, they'll either
Yeah.
kind of like fail or they'll be the story won't be there. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think most of these again it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, because we especially the Malayali audience, they are so used to seeing very relatable stories. So when producers or director want to do something out of the box, either the audience will be like, oh, this is so cool, we appreciate that, or it would be like, no, we can't relate to it. So
yeah.
so the directors and producers have to find a balance within class and mass, and it worked very well for Lucifer. I remember watching it and I'm like, oh, there's this spectacular slow motions. And I'm like, oh, Mohanlal, you're the best. And then there are like classy moments. And I'm like, oh, this is like a typical Malayali film. But then there's like punch dialogues. And I'm like, oh, this is such a nice blend of two. But if it's just massy villains flying in the sky, they'll be like, yeah, Mammootty, please don't do this. Don't do this to us.